Welcome to Chris Veve Journey. Today I want to talk about the Labyrinth drop on Veve with some background information about the franchise itself. I guess there's quite a bunch of people that have no idea about it or don't quite remember the movie. That's the boat I'm in. I remember the movie a little bit and I remember the feeling I had about it, but no details at all. I had to really take some time out and Google all the stuff, and yeah, that was quite interesting to do, and I'm going to share all that with you now. So let's go. So here we go. The Creatures of Jim Henson's Labyrinth, the first series of digital collectibles from the beloved film, dropped in blind box format on Sunday 16th October at 8 AM PT only on Veve. And before we get into the collectibles itself, I guess we start with the movie, so we have some background information. I guess that is most important for some people. Except the price. That's what most people want to see. But yeah, let's talk about the movie. So this is the movie poster. And this movie was done in 1986. And it is described as a musical fantasy movie. Which I guess is a pretty accurate description of the movie. So in the center we have Sarah. That is the main protagonist. She's a 15 or 16-year-old girl. I'm not sure. I saw various descriptions. Some say 15, some say 16, so I guess around that age. And she has a little stepbrother that is still a baby named Toby, and she's supposed to watch over him, but gets annoyed by him crying, and she needs to take responsibility of him. My god. I'm sorry. So that's the case, and she's reading that book. And so he wishes him away, taken by these goblins from her book. But that is just a quick wish made out of anger. And suddenly this Goblin King appears, Jareth, that is played by David Bowie, as you can see on the top here. And he's willing to grant her wish. She instantly regrets saying it at all and says she doesn't want to do it. But he wants to keep the baby, so she has to go into his labyrinth and has to find her way through it to get her little stepbrother back. That's the main plot of the story. And then she's in this magical world full of different monsters, let's say goblins, whatever. And the movie's done by Jim Henson, by the way. Like, that's the guy who pretty much invented the Muppets and is a great Muppeteer, a hero, or was. He's already dead. And also with George Lucas, he's credited, but I don't really know how much George Lucas was really involved in the movie. Maybe it's more because his company, Lucasfilm, was involved with the movie. I'm not sure about that. I didn't find much info about it. So the story itself reminds a lot on the Wizard of Oz thing. Like, there's a girl that goes into this weird fantasy world and has to find her way out. That is pretty interesting. Also interesting, they always talk about no female characters in movies, while you have the Wizard of Oz, which is a young woman as the protagonist. Then you have Labyrinth. It seems like there were quite some movies with women in it. Whatever. I guess the underlying plot of the story is her taking responsibility, which means she is going to be an adult instead of a child. That is that transition what this movie is trying to show you. And I think it's done very well in these 80s movies. They show often a quite interesting plot in a fantasy world, but it shows a pretty regular thing that's happening to people in the real world. So I really like that about it. I would have loved to watch this movie, but here in Germany there's no streaming service that has that movie on for free. You can get it on some demand services, but I didn't want to buy the movie, even though now I'm kind of intrigued to see the movie. It's really interesting to see, but whatever. So I had some images. I wanted to show you these images while I was talking. I was talking all the time without showing the images. So here you see David Bowie holding that little Toby in his hand. he was a pretty good choice for the movie. He was charismatic, he was a great musician, and he was the one who could pull off these weird design choices and the clothes. I mean, you have to be a real confident guy to wear this kind of stuff and look cool with it. And you can see all these little puppets here around, what Jim Henson was really famous for. And of course, I mean, that's the 80s, right? So a pretty adult looking Goblin King is able to try to marry a minor 15-year-old girl, maybe 16-year-old girl. That wasn't a big thing back then, it seems. So that's kind of weird, yeah. But of course, I mean, if you look at this image, you would never believe this is going to be, this supposed to be a 16-year-old girl, right? You see very well that this looks like a adult, but whatever. So looking at the details for the drop, here's a trailer. I would love to show you guys the trailer, but you have to watch it yourself, because if I play it here on YouTube, my video will get striked or taken off or whatever. I don't need to have that. It's a blind box drop. We have 4 collectibles. This is the first one, Ludo, and he's the common. He has 4,800 editions. Pretty nice. It's good. I don't think it's super awesome, but it is well done. Okay, so that's the second one, Hoggle. He's like, I would say, aside from Jareth, the Goblin King, and Sarah, he's the most interesting and most shown character in the movie. He's really a big part of the plot. So he has 3,600 editions, is an uncommon. Then we have a Goblin Knight. This is just like a totally replaceable character that we see a lot in the movie, if I remember correctly. And that's 2,300 edition. He's the rare. And then we have at last Sir Didymus, 1986 editions. That's because the movie was released in 1986. And he's the secret rare, of course. All of them are first appearances, and the license is the Jim Henson Company. I'm stuttering today. I don't know why. I'm doing my best. I swear. Okay, so that's some weird looking fox, I have to say, and a weird looking dog also. I have an image of the characters here that's pretty interesting. So you don't see the Goblin Knight here, because that was just a totally replaceable character. You could try to buy a lot of the Goblin Knights to make an army, which is hard, because that one is the rare with just 2,300 editions. He would have been great to have as a common, so you can buy easy a lot of them. But granted, it's great that Veve always uses an interesting character as a common. I mean, it would have been nice to have more of those to create a whole army, but most people will rather have a Ludo than a Goblin Knight, so I'm totally on par with that decision. It's a good decision. So that's what they look like. I'm just amazed about the what's his name? Hoggle. About the Hoggle. If you look at him here and then you look at the puppet, it's, man, there's a big difference. In my opinion, it's a big difference in style. I mean, this image is very sharp. It's a very sharpened photograph. I guess it was sharpened in some kind of software after the fact. So yeah, it's a little bit too sharp, but this is yeah, very soft and not as much detailed as the puppet at all. So I think they So I think they look very different. That would be my complaint here, but I'm not going to collect this, so that's not a big problem on my end. Yeah, there is also a masquerade that is, well, what was it called? I have to look at my notes for a second. Yeah, there's an annual masquerade ball that's happening. So the franchise around this movie is so loved that there's still an annual masquerade going on for this movie, which is interesting, because when the film was initially released, my god, I'm really bad today. It had a $25 million budget. It only made 12.9 million on a national scale in America, so that wasn't very good. It made 34 million worldwide, which was okay, because worldwide, most releases went on later, and while the film was released in the States, it also had Top Gun at the same year starting, or at the same time, and it also had Ferris Bueller. So there was a lot of pressure from other movies, while I think in the European countries and some other countries, they had it on the Christmas time in the theaters. So I guess it could do way better because there wasn't as much competition as in the States. That's actually what I think now. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when these movies were released all together. It's just something that looks like it. But still, 34 million with the $25 million budget, that's not great. Also, it's still a flop. You don't know how much money went into advertising the movie. That is also money missing. So that wasn't great. But the movie had quite some success on VHS and later on DVD, and created a real franchise about it. Like, really a lot of fans of the movie, a kind of cult following, which spawns like this annual masquerade, which is like a con, like typical convention where fans meet up and stuff. So that's interesting. And there were even some stuff in other media. I mean, when the movie came out, they had video games and stuff, and a board game. That was the regular stuff coming out. But there was also a 4-volume manga style comic called Return to the Labyrinth. Interesting enough, made by Tokyo Pop. We have that as a brand on Veve also. And this manga ran from 2006 and up to 2010. So that's a 4-year run. That's pretty good. That's a solid run. It's a story of Toby when he's already a teenager. Toby was the baby the Goblin King took from Sarah. And now he's a teenager and he's tricked by Jareth to return to the labyrinth. And that's his adventures there. So that's super interesting. The style, that's not my kind of style. I'm not totally into real manga, and it's a real manga in black and white and this typical design. So that's not my cup of tea. But as I said, quite successful. And they were very especially following up that 4 volumes with the last 2 released in 2019 with a story about how Jareth became the Goblin King at all, and a special in 2020 that was set during the movie, during the ball they had in the movie. And there's also talks about the possible kinda spin-off remake, not a remake of the movie, but there's something like a sequel or spin-off coming, and these news broke in 2016, so that's quite some time ago. But in 2020, and was a change of the attached director, so the one director stepped off, another director came in, and in 2021 Jennifer Connelly is the one that played Sarah in the original movie, revealed she was in talks with the movie makers about her integrating her in the movie. So there's still stuff coming, most likely, I would say. So yeah, there's promise in this franchise. Why you have a good franchise. You can't compare that at all to something like Star Wars or Marvel or whatever. But it is a living franchise from a movie that was done in 1986, and that's the thing. That was one movie in 1986. It didn't have real sequels or whatever. I mean, yeah, there's the Tokyo Pop 4-volume manga story that ran for a few years, but even that started 20 years later and is finished at this point. The fact that there's still enough fans to have an annual meeting and stuff is super interesting. I didn't find out how much this franchise is grossing. I wouldn't expect it would gross much. What do I think about the prices of the drops? So I guess the common, surely below drop price. 30 gems is easy, but I guess it's below drop price. Uncommon, I also think it will be below drop price. The Goblin Knight, the rare, I have no idea. Maybe this is kind of in the range of the drop price. Today, I don't know, not in a week, I guess below drop price. And yeah, the secret rare will be the one that most people try to get. Also, I don't know why this is a secret rare. I mean, this rare has 2300 editions, while the secret rare has 1986 editions. That I don't see that difference. This should have been an ultra rare. I don't know why this is called a secret rare. I mean, this is 1986 editions, it's a secret rare. While we have 1700 editions common on the last Spider-Man drop. That's weird. Honestly, that's weird. So if you're a fan of this, you're good. You're in a very good place. You can easily spend something on the blind box and then just buy the rest on the aftermarket. It will be cheap as hell. It will be nice to have this as a set for MCP points. It's pretty interesting. So all power to the guys that really love this. I'm not into this enough, and it's really bad that I can't watch the movie right now unless I buy it, and I don't want to buy it. So that's otherwise I might get interested in this, but I'm not interested in this at all. Yeah, so this is not for me. And if you want to gamble on secret rare or a really great mint, I don't know if that is a good strategy with this one. I mean, at this point it's really easy to know how to invest in Veve. If the drop is not super limited and it is not expensive, don't invest. It's pretty easy. It has to be at least one of those. It has to be either very expensive and has not many editions, or if it has really low amount of editions and a regular price, then that's the ones you can go for. That usually means it has enough backing that a lot of people will want to have it. If it's something you can attain easy, so to speak, then it's nothing you can expect much growth from. Also, this is, like I said, this is not Marvel, this is not Star Wars. I wouldn't expect these NFTs to become very sought after in the future. I mean, in the event that we get a new movie that could rejuvenate the whole franchise, that could spark a lot of stuff, but that would still mean it needs a lot of years to happen. Yeah, hard on that one. I would totally pass on this if you're not interested in this thing at all, in the Labyrinth story and all, I would pass on that. But no financial advice, just what I think you should do. So I guess I talked enough about today's drop. If you're participating in the drop, I wish you all best of luck. I wish you a secret rare so you can just grab the rest of the collection as easy as you can. I would totally like to hear about, do you remember the movie? Can you remember watching Labyrinth, and what do you think about the movie? When was the last time you watched that movie at all? Let me know in the comments. Also, what do you think about the drop at all? So also leave a like, would be very appreciated, and follow if you don't have so already. Like I said, best of luck to everyone participating in the drop. We see us for the next one. Bye bye.